several points of setup before we begin into my speech. First, what is the goal of opening government's case at the end of the day? What we want is a kind of invasion that has a clear goal, which is in this case a swift invasion, because we think that the cost of time in this case is something that is very risky. The moment that you prolong all of this invasion, a lot of things is going to happen, all of the lives are going to be taken. Second of all, we want a kind of invasion that is likely to install a proper democracy inside of the Sahel area. This is the kind of goal that will be enabled only from opening government's case, in which in this case is only through Western-led invasion. Several point of characteristic which is going to be central inside of my speech. The way that I'm going to characterize to you panel is that first I'm going to tell you why at the end of the day Russia is not an actor that we need to rely on. Second of all, I'm going to characterize to you what are the military, the combatant groups like ISIS, Al-Qaeda is currently like in the status quo, and why Western-led invasion is very, very important. Let's try to characterize Russia first, right? Several point of setup in regards towards Russia. Russia currently is very poor under several reasons. First, currency reserve is very, very depleting. It prevents them to have a proper trade, which makes them like economically unbenefited in the status quo. Second of all, when we're talking about energy, as the current reserve is also depleting, all of these are basically making all of the economic havoc that is currently happening in Russia. But if you're talking about military power, that is probably is going to be it's going to come in the opposition's case. We're going to say to you all of the military power and equipments that Russia currently have is not sufficient, because you're talking about the kind of country that is equipped for war in Siberia, for example. You're talking about sub-Saharan countries, in this case African countries that are not suitable for all of those, tactics, tanks and whatever. What we need inside of this ground is all of the equipment that is suitable for those desert characteristics. In this case, you need drones, you need espionage, you need attack helicopter and whatsoever. All of this basically tells you that they are not equipped with the resources in the status quo. So this basically tells you that Russia is not a suitable partner, just simply because the resources are not there to begin with. What are the impacts towards this? First, they could not preserve stability inside of this region simply because they don't have the resource to do so. Second of all, this basically tells you that even if Russia eventually backs and maybe they have a certain amount of resources, this is not something that is tangible, that is going to be sustaining in the long run. Insofar that they are trying to install a proper governance, we think that the kind of invasion, the kind of backup or invasion that you want to be led with is a partner that is sustenance enough for at least the next years, or this prolonged time at the end of the day. Second point of characteristic is in regards towards ISIS and Al-Qaeda influence in regards towards that area. What are the characteristics, right? First, after the Syrian civil war has ended, the influence of these groups doesn't fade away. They equip these groups with weapons. They have the desert equipment, tactic and whatsoever. Iran and networks are funding these groups as well, which basically tells you that there are tight-knit environment that is currently present in the status quo. But closing.
Who are the Westerners?
I will tell you later, so all of these Iran and networks that are funding this group are currently present simply because the Syrian civil war is something that is just happened some time ago. So at the end of the day, these influences are very massive. So what I'm trying to say to you here is, when the influence is very massive, the amount of threat basically quadruples. So there have a lot of people that are currently a part of these combatant groups. So at the end of the day, ISIS and Al-Qaeda is not afraid of using a tactic like human shield, for example. They put these military groups in civil residences and basically try to make havoc inside of the civil residences. So the conclusion here is, insofar that ISIS and Al-Qaeda influence is very strong, insofar that Russian resources are not something that we could rely to, we could not peg our stability of the governments, in this case for the Sahel area, towards this region. So let's come into what kind of Western-led invasion that we are trying to propose, right? Several point of setup. Who is this Western-led, like Pak Ariel asked? It's most likely US or NATO allies. What do they have in the status quo? They have weapons that the Russian doesn't have. All of these countries, like US and also NATO allies, have precise ballistic weapons, for example, that have been used to create operations in civilian areas. So they are basically equipped with the kind of environment or territory that the Sahel area is already equipped in the status quo. What kind of this invasion is going to look like that is currently Western-led? It looks like sending troops and military troops towards these areas. area at the end of the day because all of these troops basically have years of military training. They're trained within this area and they have base camps as well. This is where Marvin's map basically comes into place because if you see a river within Sudan, this is where the US base camp is located in the status quo. This gives you a massive magnitude of, hey, there are trained troops inside of these base camps right now. There are people that are trained within these military areas at the end of the day that are very familiar with the ground and territories, and they are equipped with this US and also NATO allies backing. What we're trying to say to you here is that the conclusion is several things, right? First, insofar that there is a better comparative, that one, there is an actor that have backings inside of this local area. At the end of the day, the kinds of human resources is something that is going to be promised in our side of the house because Russian ally does not have these human resources at the end of the day. Their troops is limited within those territory. Second of all, it's why are we so sure? Sorry, why are we so sure that this is going to happen? Because currently in the status quo in the Sahel areas, people have collective grievances. At the end of the day, these are the people who also demonizes Al Qaeda, for example, who also sees ISIS as an enemy, for example. So it's over that US is going to partner with them and then eventually try to ally with all these local. The likelihood of the success is going to be better in our side of the house because there is a collective grievances. Third of all, we think that because we are partnering with NATO, they have like years and years of history of combating ISIS. They have years and years of trained intelligence, and all of this is very, very important to alleviate our resources at the end of the day. All of this very important. That circle back to our main goal. First, we ensure to you a swift invasion, and we ensure to you swift invasion because we know that there is a sufficient resource at the end of the day, simply because US and NATO is a good backup. Second of all, in regards towards the likelihood of installing a proper governance, we think that the fact that there's a similar grievances in the status quo, and the fact that there's a principle of US as an established body that could be the catalyst to establish a democratic when there is no other actor that could do so. This is why US is very important and we need to back